course, yung mga notes and yung recording kung meron kayong hindi masyadong naintindihan. And of course, you can still send me a message kung meron kayong question. But, ayun, any questions so far? Meron ba kayong concern that you'd like to raise? Questions from the previous topics? Wala naman? Okay, so kung wala naman, feeling ko din naman hindi kayo magtatanong kahit meron. I'll start sharing my screen for our topic for this morning. So if you saw the file that I uploaded in our LMS, you will see there that our topic for today is about efficient capital markets. Pag-uusapan natin, ano ba definition ng efficient capital markets? And what does it mean to have an efficient capital market? So for this morning, we will be trying to understand ano ba yung efficient capital markets then? We'll try to identify the three sub-hypotheses and ano ba yung implications ng mga to. We'll define behavioral finance and also we'll try to identify the implications of efficient capital markets. Para saan ba tong efficient capital markets na to? Kasi class, if you will venture into stock buying and selling, kung halimbawa maraming kayong investments and you decide to join yung investment sa stocks, ang number one mong question palagi is, ano bang stock ang bibilhin ko? At saka hanggang kailan ko siya i-hold? Ano bang stock yung masyadong mahal? Ano bang stock yung mura? Kasi ang objective mo, diba, kapag bumibili ka sa stock market is, bibili ka ng stocks na mura, hoping matataas pa yung presyo niya, and by the time na tumaas na yung presyo niya, ibebenta mo na siya para kumita ka. And as much as possible, gusto mong iwasan yung mga stocks na mataas yung presyo, tapos bababa na yung presyo eventually. Sino sa inyo nakakita na ng stock graph, stock analysis graph in your previous subjects or naging curious lang kayo? The reason I'm just asking kung may nakakita na sa inyo, kasi kung mapapansin nyo yung mga stock graphs natin, para siyang bundok. Tataas, bababa, tataas ulit, bababa, tataas, bababa. Pero yung extent kung hanggang saan siya tataas at hanggang saan siya bababa, no one actually knows. Kasi kung meron talaga nakakaalam, di sobrang yaman niya na. But we can always estimate kung hanggang saan siya tataas, hanggang saan siya bababa. Pero we cannot say na merong isang particular na person or investor na alam kung kailan exactly tataas and up to saan siya tataas. So, sa efficient capital market kasi ang pinag-uusapan dito, ang sabi dyan, yung mga prices daw ng mga stocks, nag-a-adjust siya yung price rapidly to the arrival of new information. So kapag meron daw bagong information sa market about the company or any information that will affect that company who owns that security, magbabago daw yung prices ng stocks. Pag sinabi natin security, one and the same siya dun sa stocks, ha? So don't be confused kapag security or stock yung ginagamit natin. Therefore, sabi nila sa efficient capital market, the current prices of securities reflect all information about the security. So, ibig sabihin, kung magkano yung presyo ng stock na tinitingnan mo, nakapaloob na daw dyan lahat ng information relevant to that stock. So that any new information ang dumating sa market, mag-a-adjust siya. Pwede siyang tumaas, pwede siyang bumaba. Now, ang question is, ang usapan dun is efficient capital markets. O paano natin ngayon masasabi na yung capital market natin are efficient or hindi efficient? Yun yung controversial, yun yung ni-research ng maraming economists kung paano malalaman kung efficient ba ang capital market natin. Efficient ba ang capital market sa Philippines? Ang capital market sa US, sa UK, or sa Japan? Efficient ba sila? Yun yung question. Ngayon, ang kwento, sabi dito ng mga economists na nag-research or nag-postulate nitong mga theories na to, for a market to be efficient daw, dapat maraming competing profit maximizing participants ang nag-a-analyze ng price ng mga securities and independent with each other sila. Hindi pa pwedeng merong bias, hindi pa pwedeng konti lang yung nag-a-analyze. Kailangan maraming mga researchers working independently ang nag-a-analyze ng mga prices ng mga securities and mga stocks. Tapos dapat masasabi mo rin daw na efficient ang isang market kapag yung pagdating ng information is random. Ibig sabihin, walang order. Kumbaga, random naman talaga yung pagdating ng information, di ba? Hindi naman siya in an orderly manner. Random lang siya dumarating. And then, yung mga investors na talagang ito talaga ang kanilang trabaho o pinagkakakitaan, sila yung nag-a-adjust ng mga prices kapag may bagong information na dumarating. Remember kanina sabi natin, yung prices ng stocks nagbabago kapag may bagong information. Sino yung dahilan o ano yung dahilan kung bakit nagbabago yung price na? Itong mga profit maximizing investors na to. Kasi pag halimbawa meron silang nalaman na bagong information about Jollibee, for example, kung maganda yung bagong information na yon, bibilhin nila ng bibilhin yung stocks ng Jollibee, which will make the stocks of Jollibee increase. So with that new information na nalalaman nila, mag-a-adjust ngayon yung price ng Jollibee, tataas siya dahil magkakaroon ng madaming demand, maraming gustong bumili ng Jollibee. The reverse is also true. Kung halimbawa nakaalam sila ng, well kasi kaya ako naalala yung Jollibee kasi very recently, ewan ko kung nakita niyo sa news or dun sa mga memes sa Facebook, yung Jollibee nasa Spain na, nakapasok na yung Jollibee sa Spain. So that's a new information that the profit maximizing investors would use to decide kung bibili sila ng Jollibee or hindi. Pero yun nga, the negative information works the same way. So kung merong bagong negative information about a particular company, definitely these profit maximizing investors will do their job. Ibebenta nila yung mga stocks na yan, and kapag nagbenta sila ng stocks, bababa yung price ng stocks. So in conclusion, the efficient capital market, in an efficient capital market, the expected returns implicit in the current price of a security should reflect its risk. So ibig sabihin, kung ano yung perceived and actual risk ng isang company, ng isang stock ng isang company, nakapaloob siya dun sa price ng stocks. So nakakasunod pa ba tayo so far? Okay pa? Start pa lang to. So generally, ang sinasabi lang natin sa efficient capital market, ang price ng stock is determined by all the information available. And all the risk inherent in that stock is already reflected in the price. Kapag merong bagong information, mag-a-adjust yung presyo ng stocks. Pag maganda yung information, tataas yung stocks. Pag negative yung information, bababa yung stocks. Question, sino yung nag-a-adjust nitong mga price ng mga stocks na to kapag may bagong information?
Profit maximizing investors.
Correct. That's correct, Franz. Tama. So sila kasi yung talagang parang kumbaga gigil, yung mga G na mga investors. Sila yung mga G na kapag nakaalam sila ng bagong information, gagawan agad nila ng action and then mag-reflect sa market. Lalo na kung malaki silang investor. Kasi kapag malaki silang investor, malaki yung bibilhin nila na stocks, may effect sa pagtaas or pagbaba ng stock price. Okay, may mga alternative efficient market hypothesis. Pag-uusapan lang natin siya pero hindi ito talaga yung topic natin for this morning. Ito kasi yung hindi masyadong mga sikat na mga hypothesis but kinonsider din siya ng mga economists when they were trying to do this theory. There's one hypothesis, yung random walk hypothesis. Ang sabi dito, changes in security prices occur randomly. So random lang daw yung changes ng mga prices. Hindi mo daw pwedeng i-estimate kasi random lang talaga siya. Second is the fair game model. According to this, current market price reflect all available information about a security and the expected return based upon this price is consistent with its risk. Fair game lang daw. So kumbaga, kung ano yung price na makikita mo sa isang stock, ibig sabihin nakapaloob na daw dyan lahat ng information and yung return na pwede mong i-expect from that stock is consistent with the risk. And then the other efficient market hypothesis, ito yung pag-uusapan natin this morning, which is divided into 3 sub-hypotheses depending on the information set involved. So sabi nga natin kanina kasi diba the price reflects the information. Ngayon, meron 3 sub-hypothesis yung efficient market hypothesis. These are weak form EMH. EMH is efficient market hypothesis. In the weak form EMH, prices reflect all security market information. So sa weak form, lahat daw ng security market information nandyan sa price. Sa semi-strong form naman, kasama dyan lahat ng public information. So kanina security market information lang, sa loob lang nung capital market information. Sa semi-strong kasama na lahat ng public information. Sa strong form naman kasama na lahat ng public and private information. So ito yung tatlong hypothesis. Let's look into this hypothesis one by one. First, we consider the weak form efficient market hypothesis. According to this, sabi nga natin kanina, current prices like all security market information, including historical sequence of prices, rates of return, trading volume data, and other market-generated information. So, ibig sabihin nito, ang sinasabi lang dito sa weak form EMH is that past rates of return and other market data should have no relationship with future rates of return. So, kumbaga parang dito sa weak form, past is past. Kasi nga, ang meron lang siya security market information. Ano ba yung mga security market information? O ito syempre, of course, yung historical movement ng price, historical rate of return. So ito yung sinasabi niya sa weak form EMH. Sa semi-strong form EMH naman, ang sinasabi dito, yung stock prices reflect all public information including market and non-market information. So kasama dito yung mga chismis, kung ano mangyayari halimbawa doon sa Jollibee, kasama din dito of course yung usap-usapan ng mga investors, ng mga security analysts. So pagsasama-samahin mo lahat ng mga public information, yun daw ang magre-reflect ng current security price according to semi-strong form EMH. This implies that decisions made on new information after it is public should not lead to above average risk-adjusted profits from those transactions. Ibig sabihin, kung may bagong information, pero public na yung information na yon, hindi na daw siya makaka-apekto doon sa price. Kasi nakapaloob na siya doon. Gets ba? Sa weak form, ang sinasabi dyan, kung merong bagong information na nandun na sa loob ng security market, yung mga historical information ng mga yan, alam na naman yan lahat na nasa loob ng security, wala na yung impact doon sa price kasi nakapaloob na yan doon sa price. Sa semi-strong, kapag merong bagong information pero publicly available, hindi na rin siya kasama doon sa magkakaroon ng impact doon sa price. Doon naman sa strong form EMH, ang sinasabi dito, lahat daw ng information na available is nakapaloob na din sa stock price. Lahat meaning from public and private sources. Ibig sabihin lang nito, walang kahit sino doon na investor ang pwedeng magkaroon ng above average na risk-adjusted rates of return. Kasi lahat ng mga tao alam dapat ng information na yan, both public and private. This assumes, of course, that perfect markets in which all information is cost-free and available to everyone at the same time. Ang sinasabi dito, walang isang investor na magiging napakagaling or mas magaling pa doon sa market. Kumbaga parang wala daw tao na siya lang yung nanalo sa stocks, all the rest talo. Or all the rest walang income. Yun yung sinasabi sa strong form EMH because sabi dito, lahat daw yung prices daw ng stocks reflect all available information from public and private sources, assuming that information is cost-free and readily available to everyone at the same time. So of course, yung mga economists natin, they tested and shared with us the results of their analysis or their yung hypothesis nila dun sa efficient markets. So these are the tests done for the big form EMH. Nagkaroon sila ng mga statistical test of independence between rates of return. So may mga statistical analysis na ginawa to check kung talaga bang tama yung hypothesis ng weak form EMH. Kinompare nila yung mga trading rules dun sa buy and hold policy. Buy and hold policy meaning bibili, tapos i-hold mo for a longer time. And then masyadong madaming information sila na tinest or masyadong maraming data na tinest. So when they were checking, trading rule results have been mixed and most have not been able to beat a buy and hold policy. Ibig sabihin, nung tinest nila yung weak form EMH, yung mga information na nakapaloob doon sa stock price dito, wala daw nakatalo doon sa iba pang mga stocks na walang masyadong information about the security market. Okay? May mga testing constraints din during that testing kasi hindi daw ang ginagamit lang nila na data is publicly available and then it includes all transaction cost, and then they adjusted the results for risk. So generally, ang results nito, totoo daw yung weak form EMH, pero yung results ay hindi unanimous. Ibig sabihin, hindi lahat naniniwala dun sa weak form EMH. Kasi again, yung weak form EMH, ang sinasabi dito, security market information ang nagdidikta ng price ng stocks. So nung tinest nila yung theory na to, may mga sumusupport dun sa theory, pero hindi lahat nag-agree. So that's for weak form EMH. So of course, tinest din nila yung semi-strong form of EMH. So dalawang sets of studies yung ginawa. According dun sa ginamit kong reference, gumawa sila ng time series analysis ng lahat ng returns for individual stocks. And then may mga event studies din silang ginawa na tinignan kung paano gumagalaw yung stock prices sa mga significant economic events. Because sabi nga natin yung semi-strong, kasama dito lahat ng publicly available information. So, aside from analysis ng data, tinignan din nila yung kung may impact yung mga economic events na nangyari. So, test results should adjust a security's rate of return for the rates of return of the overall market during the period considered. So, ito yung formula na nag-come up sila ng formula for the testing of the semi-strong form EMH. AR sub IT is the abnormal rate of return on security I during period T. RIT is rate of return on security I during period T, and then RMT is the rate of return on a market index during period T. So kinumpara nila yung performance ng isang stock versus doon sa performance ng buong index. Familiar ba kayo pag sinabi yung index, ano ibig sabihin nun? Pag sinabing stock index, pool of stocks to. Iba't ibang stocks yung pinagsama-sama sa loob ng index. So merong portfolio manager, yung stock index na yon, tapos kung ano yung overall impact nung return sa stock index na yon, supposedly that reflects the performance of the market. Sa testing na ginawa nila sa semi-strong form, sinusubtract nila dun sa return ng individual security yung return ng index. Return ng index yung RMT, return ng individual stock yung RIT. So yung sagot dyan is the abnormal rate of return. Ibig sabihin, supposedly kasi ang theory nila dito is kung ano yung performance ng individual stock, ganun din ang performance ng buong stock market index. So kapag mayroong difference, that's an abnormal rate of return. Okay. So sabi nila nung ginawa nila yung time series test, nagkaroon ng mga abnormal rates of return kasi short horizon lang yung ginagawa nila. So very limited yung naging results, meaning siguro mga 5 years lang at the most yung ginamit nilang information analysis. And then yung long horizon returns analysis naman, naging successful based on dividend yield, default spread, and term structure spread. Ano ibig sabihin na naging successful? Naging successful kasi halos close daw yung return ng individual stocks at saka yung return ng stock market index. And then quarterly earnings may yield abnormal returns due to unanticipated earnings change. So medyo hindi rin conclusive, pero ang sinasabi nila dito is that the results suggest that the earnings surprise is not instantaneously reflected in security prices. So kaya merong differences daw yung mga short-term horizon kasi hindi pa nare-reflect agad yung mga changes na to doon sa price ng stocks. Now, let's talk about the January anomaly. So, dito sa January anomaly, yung stocks daw na merong negative returns dun sa nakaraang taon, mas mataas na yung returns right after the first of the year. Tax selling toward the end of the year has been mentioned as the reason for this phenomenon. So, ibig sabihin, may mga stocks daw na mababa yung price noong nakaraang taon, pero pagdating ng January, tumataas yung stock price niya. The reason that they gave here is the tax selling nga. Dahil sa mga tax na binabayaran, yun yung reason for this phenomenon. But such a seasonal pattern is inconsistent with the EMH. So hindi siya consistent doon sa theory natin ng semi-strong EMH. So dapat hindi siya kino-consider dun sa testing nung hypothesis na ito. other calendar effects, so hindi lang January yung may effects. Sa Philippines, for example, gumaganda ang stock market kapag December kasi maraming pera yung mga tao, so tumataas yung income ng mga businesses. At the same time, yung madaming perang mga individual investors, bumibili sila ng mga stocks, nagko-cost din ng increase dun sa stock prices. But that's my theory lang. Kasi walang study talaga about the calendar effects in the Philippines, or at least not that I know of. Okay, so some other test done for the semi-strong form EMH is yung predicting cross-sectional returns. Sabi dito, all securities should have equal risk-adjusted returns. Okay, so nalulunod na kayo dun sa mga information. Actually, ano to eh, itong topic about efficient capital market, para siyang mahirap hawakan kasi puro theory. Pero it's good that you understand kasi at least malalaman nyo talaga kung magiging interesado kayo na maging individual stock investor, at least hindi kayo basta maniniwala doon sa mga sabi-sabi ng mga ibang analyst, because kagaya ng sabi natin kanina dito, no single individual investor can outplay the stock market index. That's proven by the theories of this efficient market hypothesis. Walang isa na pwede magsabi sa'yo na sundin mo yung stock gain plan ko, yayaman ka. Walang ganon. Actually, kung mapapansin mo, lahat ng mga banks, financial institutions, or yung mga matitinong investment analyst, yung mga matitinong investment analyst, ang sinasabi nila palagi, meron silang disclaimer na itong mga sinasuggest ko sa'yo is based on my analysis. Pero pwedeng hindi yan mangyari. So, kasi pag may mga bagong information na dumating, mag-a-adjust yung price. Kung hindi ka makakasabay dun sa adjustment na yon, possible na maiwan ka, meaning bumaba yung stock price na nakastock ka pa doon. Anyone of you pala na meron ng investment sa stock market? Meron na kayo? I suggest mag-try kayo kasi parang yung COL Financial, familiar ka dun sa COL Financial, stock trading platform siya. Parang meron parang game dun eh, yung bibigyan kayo ng virtual money. Virtual yung money, pero hindi totoo yung
Sa
pera.
Instagram po, merong game.
Yes, sa Instagram. So parang bibigyan ka ng peking money, pero yung stock market information totoo. So if you have time, I suggest gawin niyo yun para, well, wala kang kinikita, pero at least nakakapaglaro ka doon sa stock market. Tapos para by the time na meron ka ng pera, alam mo na kung paano maglaro using all this theory na pinag-uusapan natin about efficient capital market. So, ang technique lang na ginagawa ng mga investment managers, kailangan talaga sismoso ka. Lahat ng information dapat alam mo about the stocks, hindi dun sa information about your kapitbahay. About the stocks talaga dapat. So all private information about the company, all publicly available information, dapat aware ka. Kasi may impact yun dun sa price ng stock. Kasi nga, sabi natin nung umpisa nitong discussion natin, the prices of the stock reflect all the information. So, I really suggest that you try those kasi hindi ko siya matuturo sa inyo matuturo ko lang sa inyo kung paano mag-invest. Pero hindi ko matuturo kung paano kumita. 'Di ba? So pwede ko kayong turuan paano ba mag-stock investment. Pero kung saan ka maglalagay, hanggang kailan mo siya i-hold, you can only get information from trusted analysts. Pero then again, hindi ka rin makakaasa na 100% mangyayari yung sinasabi nila. Kasi nga, hindi lahat ng information is available to them. Yun yung pinag-aaralan natin this morning. Kumbaga parang nilagyan lang nila ng proof yung conclusion natin na yon. So ito yung mga proof na yan. Kaya medyo mahirap siyang i-grasp in simpler terms kasi they are trying to prove na walang isang individual stock investor na makakapag-predict talaga ng movement ng market. Okay, but of course, some information na are readily available, they can use this information to predict. So sabi dito halimbawa sa price earnings ratios and returns, low price to earnings stocks experience superior risk-adjusted results relative to the market. Pero pag mataas yung PE stocks, they had significantly inferior risk-adjusted results. Publicly available PE ratios possess valuable information regarding future returns. This is inconsistent with semi-strong efficiency. So sabi kasi dito, kasi all public and private information yung nagre-reflect ng price sa isang semi-strong EMH. Pero dun sa testing na ginawa nila, may impact daw sa risk yung price to earnings ratio ng mga stocks. So yan yung mga findings nila when they were trying to prove or disprove the semi-strong form EMH. Studies have hypothesized that there is an inverse relationship with the PEG ratio and subsequent rates of returns. This is also inconsistent with the EMH. However, the results related to using PEG ratios to select stocks are mixed. So yung iba, yung mga ibang analysts, kung magbabasa ka sa YouTube or kung maghahanap ka sa Facebook ng mga analyst, ang ginagawa nila na way to identify kung anong stocks yung bibilhin is by checking yung price to earnings ratio or growth rate. Kasi ang for them, kapag ang performance ng isang company ay maganda, ang assumption nila is in the future, magiging maganda rin ang performance ng stocks na yon. Halimbawa, nakita mo yung stocks ng ABS-CBN, tumataas halimbawa ang income. For them, dun sa mga stock investors na to, kapag ganun yung nangyayari, there's a high probability na magiging maganda rin ang performance ng stocks next year. Pero, these are inconsistent with the EMH kasi ang tinitingnan niya lang na information is yung historical performance ng stocks. Hindi niya kino-consider yung other public information available. Okay. So dadaanan ko na lang tong last few slides about semi-strong form EMH. Please read these slides, pero ang sinasabi lang dito is kung ano yung mga test na ginawa nila to prove the hypothesis of semi-strong form. Okay, and then adjustments for riskiness of small firms. I'd like to show you yung test and results of strong form. Wait, before that pala, diba sabi natin kanina, gumawa sila ng mga time series analysis to prove yung semi-strong form EMH. They also did event studies to test the semi-strong form EMH. And some of these event studies show that stock split studies, yung splits daw ng stocks, familiar naman kayo sa stock split, no? So kung halimbawa mayroong 1,000 stocks yung company, pag nagkaroon ng stock split, magiging 2,000 yung stocks. So kung isa kang stockholder ng company na yon, after ng stock split, magiging dalawa na yung stocks mo. During those study, nakita nila na kapag merong splits, wala daw abnormal gains na nangyayari after the split announcement. And then IPO seems to be underpriced also by almost 18%, but that varies over time. And the price is adjusted within 1 day after the offering. So sa isang IPO daw, kadalasan, yung price na binibigay nila sa market is underpriced. Kasi di ba ang objective nila kapag merong IPO, tumaas yung stock price nila eventually. So, nangyayari naman siya, tumataas yung stock price eventually kasi nga underpriced yung stock. However, the price is adjusted agad within 1 day after the offering. Kasi nga, kumbaga parang magbabalance out na siya na tumaas yung price pero parang, okay, hindi pala ganyan talaga dapat ang price niya. Mag-a-adjust siya ulit dun sa price that reflects the risk of the stocks and all information. And then listing of a stock on a national exchange such as the NYSE may offer some short-term profit opportunities for investors. So, according to their event studies, kung meron mang impact sa price ng stocks, itong mga events na to, short-term lang siya. Bumabalik din siya agad doon sa totoong price niya. So yung mga stock individual investors, kung gusto mong mag-take advantage sa mga ganitong events, pwede mo namang gawin pero kailangan nakabantay ka kasi kapag the moment na mawala na yung effect ng event, bababa siya ulit dun sa original niyang price, dun sa price na tama para sa kanya. So dapat makaalis ka agad. Otherwise, hindi ka magkakaroon ng income from the arbitrage. Familiar kayo dun sa term na arbitrage? Arbitrage is when you buy a stock na nasa mababa yung price, tapos ibibenta mo siya agad kapag tumaas. Kumbaga, kikita ka lang ng konti dun sa tubo, dun sa difference in price. Ito yung sinasabi sa event studies, na kumikita ng konti yung mga individual investors via the arbitrage, but eventually, nag-a-adjust na rin yung price ng stock sa market. Okay. Now, let's go dun sa summary pala. Summary muna ng semi-strong EMH. Yung evidence na ginawa nila dun sa test nila is mixed. There's a strong support from numerous event studies with the exception of exchange listing studies. And then, ang support ito, sinasabi dun sa event studies is that merong short-term na impact sa price yung mga events, pero bumabalik siya ulit sa kung ano talaga dapat yung tamang price niya. And then studies on predicting rates of return for a cross-section of stocks indicates markets are not semi-strong efficient. So, ibig sabihin, yung market daw hindi siya semi-strong. So, nakita na natin na may mga iba't ibang views talaga sila. Nagsimula dun sa weak form. Sabi dun sa weak form, may mga nag-agree, may mga hindi nag-agree. Sa semi-strong naman, pinakita dito na yung pag-predict daw ng rates of return for a cross-section of stocks, iba't ibang stocks, pinapakita dito na yung markets are not semi-strong. So now let's see kung paano naman kapag sa strong form EMH. Any questions pala so far before I proceed? No questions mo pa? Okay. So according to the strong form EMH contends that stock prices fully reflect all information. Sabi nga natin kanina, sa isang strong form EMH, yung prices ng stocks, this reflect or nakapaloob dyan lahat ng public and private information. This implies that there are no group of investors that would have access to private information that will allow them to consistently earn above average profits. So sabi dito, yung prices ng stocks, naka-reflect na dyan all public and private information. So walang isang individual investor na pwedeng mag-claim na meron siyang information na alam that will allow him to consistently earn above average profits. So ngayon, tinest nila yung mga group ng investors para ma-prove itong theory. Kasi diba sabi natin, walang isang investor na pwedeng magkaroon ng above average returns dahil lahat ng prices reflect all public and private information. So they tested this hypothesis. They tested a group of investors, andyan yung mga corporate insiders, stock exchange specialists, security analysts, and then of course, professional money managers. So let's talk about corporate insider trading. Corporate insiders include major corporate officers, directors, and owners of 10% or more of any equity class of securities. Yung mga upper management ito at saka yung mga owners ng mga companies. Insiders must report to the SEC each month on their transactions in the stock of the firm for which they are insiders. So dapat kung bibili ka ng stocks o magbebenta ka ng stocks doon sa company kung saan ikaw ay insider, kailangan nire-report mo siya sa SEC. And these insider trades are made public about 6 weeks later and allowed to be studied. So diba, kung maaalala nyo dun sa mga previous classes nyo, hindi pa pwede dapat ang insider trading. So magiging pwede lang siya kung gagawin mo siya in public, meaning mag-share ka ng report sa SEC kung ano yung ginawa mo, tapos yung SEC naman i-share yung information na yon sa public. And then corporate insiders generally experience above average profits, especially on purchase transactions. So kapag syempre, alam nila kung ano yung presyo talaga ng stocks, so pag bumili sila, pwede silang bumili during the time na mababa yung presyo ng stocks. This implies that many insiders had private information from which they derived above average returns on their company stock. So kaya lang sila kumita because they have private information. However, studies show that public investor who traded with the insiders based on announced transactions would have enjoyed excess risk-adjusted returns. But the market now seem to have eliminated the inefficiency. So ibig sabihin, kung sasabay, halimbawa yung public, dun sa mga investment strategies ng mga insider traders, babalik din naman daw sila dun sa original kasi mas madaming risk na i-carry itong mga public investors na to. Other studies indicate that you can increase returns from using insider trading information by combining it with key financial ratios and considering what group of insiders is doing the buying and selling. So kumbaga, kung gusto mo talagang sumabay dun sa mga insider traders, kasi tingin mo sila yung magagaling, sila yung may information na mas tama kaysa sa'yo, pwede ka sumabay sa kanila. But if you are a public investor, not involved in that particular company, you can combine key financial information para makita mo na rin kung ano ba yung movement na ginagawa na itong mga insiders na to. Now, yung mga stock exchange specialist, sabi nila sila daw ay merong monopolistic access to information about unfilled limited orders. So, kumbaga meron silang information na hindi nila sinishare sa public, and then therefore, since meron silang ganung information, you can expect na mas kumikita sila compared sa general public. And the data generally supports these expectations. So tests were done and have considered whether it is possible to identify a set of analysts who have the ability to select undervalued stocks. Kasi security analyst nga sila, di ba? So meron silang access dun sa mga information na hindi generally available doon sa public. So, however, after a stock selection by an analyst is made known, pag ginawa niya ng public yung kanyang strategy, a significant abnormal return is available to those who follow their recommendations. There is evidence in favor of the existence of superior analysts who apparently possess private information. So, yung studies na ginawa, nakita nila na kagaya ng mga insider traders, yung mga security analysts, kung susundin mo yung movement nila, there's a chance na mag-outperform ka dun sa market because you have private information not readily available to everyone. And the same is true for professional money managers. These are trained professionals working full-time at investment management. So if any investor can achieve above average returns, it should be this group. So mas magaling sila kaysa doon sa mga insider trader at saka doon sa mga security analyst. If any non-insider can obtain inside information, it would be this group due to the extensive management interviews that they conduct. So marami silang information, interview ng mga top management, ng mga owners ng mga company. So kung meron kayong tao na gustong kopyahin ang investment strategy, pinakamagandang kopyahin yung sa professional money managers. Tapos dun sa testing nila, tinignan nila yung mga mutual funds. Tinignan din nila yung mga trust departments, insurance companies, and investment advisors. Then the risk adjusted after expenses, the returns of these mutual funds generally show that most funds did not match aggregate market performance. So, ito kasing mga professional money managers, ito yung mga usually nagmamanage ng mga mutual funds and trust funds ng mga financial institutions. So, kung meron kayong meron kayong funds na pwede nyo i-invest in the future, meron kang option na bumili ng stock individually, ikaw yung bibili ng stock, ikaw yung magmo-monitor, ikaw din yung mag-decide kung kailan mo siya ibebenta. Pero pwede kang mag-avail ng services ng mga professional money managers through mutual funds. Yung mga bangko nag-o-offer ng mga mutual funds at saka ng mga trust funds. Kasi pag ganito, ibig sabihin, ibinibigay mo yung pera sa kanila tapos hinahayaan mo sila na sila yung mag-invest for you. Normally, mas mataas yung performance ng mga funds managed by the professional money managers compared dun sa ikaw mag-isa yung nag-manage ng funds mo. Kasi itong mga ganito, meron silang access sa maraming information na possibly ikaw wala. Pero kung madami kang pera, I suggest gawin mo pareho. Meron kang sariling stocks, tapos meron ka rin pera sa mutual funds. Kasi yung mutual funds, meron din naman conservative position na tinitake yung mga yan eh. Hindi sila pasok, bira ng bira. Kasi meron sila, of course, pinoprotektahan and alam nila yung mga risk involved and hindi sila ganoon ka-risky in terms of investments. So, to balance it out, pwede ka magkaroon ng sarili mong stocks na mas mataas yung risk kasi ikaw lang mag-isa ang nagmamanage niyan. Eh, alam naman natin sa sarili natin na hindi tayo ganun kagaling. Pwede tayo makachamba, pwede tayo magkumita doon sa mga stocks, pero hindi palaging ganun. Compared din sa mga professional money managers. Pero ngayon kasi, hindi maganda yung stock market natin sa Philippines as in walang movement. Kung meron mang movement, pababa pa. So, hindi magandang mag-invest sa stocks. Ngayon, kung gusto mong kumita. But kung nagre-prepare ka for the future, magandang bumili ng stocks ngayon kasi mabababa yung presyo. And let's hope na matapos na yung pandemic or at least mag-improve na economy ng Philippines para tumaas-taas na yung stock market natin and tumaas-taas na rin yung presyo ng mga stock prices. Okay, so these are the conclusions regarding the strong form EMH. There's again mixed results, but there is much support for the strong form EMH. The test for corporate insiders and stock exchange specialists do not support the hypothesis because both groups seems to have monopolistic access to important information and use it to derive above average returns. So, kumbaga, mas madami ang naniniwala sa strong form EMH compared dun sa dalawang hypothesis. However, nung ginawa nila yung test sa mga corporate insiders at saka stock specialists, nakita nila na hindi ito nagsusupport sa hypothesis because may mga information silang alam na sila lang yung nakakaalam. Okay, so test results for analysts are concentrated on value line rankings. So value line rankings, it's a jargon, but pinakita lang dun sa test na to that results have changed over time and they currently tend to support EMH. Individual analyst recommendations seem to contain significant information. And ang sabi ko nga kanina, ang may pinakamagandang performance would be the professional money managers because they seem to provide support for strong form EMH. So ang sinasabi lang natin dito, class, walang specific na person, ulitin ko lang yung sinabi ko na kanina, walang specific na person na pwedeng mag-perform mag-isa at mas mataas yung magiging return niya compared doon sa index or yung pinagsama-samang stocks. Unless meron kang information na ikaw lang yung may access at hindi mo share sa public. Pero then again, kapag meron ganon, hindi efficient yung market mo. Ang pinag-uusapan kasi natin is efficient capital market. Meaning, lahat ng precious, meaning sa efficient capital market, yung price ng stock reflects all information, both public and private. So, pwede kang manalo sa stocks kapag meron kang private information, pero not everyone has access to that. And that kind of market is not efficient. So, yun lang yung ibig sabihin nitong sangkatutak na pinag-usapan natin about efficient market hypothesis. But of course, ang ating objective is meron tayo dapat na efficient capital market. Kasi kung hindi siya efficient, kawawa naman yung mga investors na kagaya natin na walang access sa information. Diba? Since wala tayong access sa information, hindi natin alam kung anong stocks yung bibilhin. Kasi walang evidence to prove na tama yung stocks na bibilhin natin. But aside from this, let's talk about behavioral finance. Meron kasing behavioral finance, ibig sabihin yung mga gut feel ng mga investors, yung mga chismis na kumakalat, lumalawak yung chismis. So pag lumawak yung chismis, may impact siya doon sa perception ng mga stock investors, and we call that behavioral finance. This is concerned with the analysis of various psychological traits of individuals and how these traits affect the manner in which they act as investors, analysts, and portfolio managers. So, ibig sabihin, aside from technical analysis ng performance ng stocks, aside from getting information publicly and privately, meron pa ring psychological traits na dapat i-consider. Kasi kung halimbawa ang mga investors ay masyadong takot na bumili ng stocks, this particular stock, kahit na maganda yung performance ng company, hindi nila bibilhin yung stocks na yon. And kapag hindi nila binili yung stocks na yon, hindi mataas yung demand. So the price of that stock would not be affected or maybe pwede pang bumaba because pag may mga nagbenta ng stocks of that particular company. Gets ba so far? May natutunan tayo so far? I suggest na balikan nyo tong slides natin na to. It's simple yet very theoretical. So, kailangan nyo lang talaga siyang maintindihan. Ito yung isa dun sa mga mahihirap na topics dito sa subject natin. But mahirap lang siya because hindi mo kasi siya mag-grasp, sabi ko nga kanina. Pero if you have questions, you can research sa Google or ask me also. Okay, so what are the implications of efficient capital markets? Ano ba ang implication nito? Para saan to? Overall results indicate that the capital markets are efficient as related to the numerous sets of information. There are substantial instances where the market fails to rapidly adjust to public information. So ang sinasabi dito, efficient naman yung capital markets natin because lahat ng information are available. However, there are events na nagkakaroon ng impact doon sa price ng mga stocks at sa performance ng market na hindi ganun siya kabilis nakaka-adjust doon sa bagong information na to. So, let's talk about efficient markets and technical analysis. Assumptions of technical analysis directly oppose the notion of efficient markets. Ito kontra tong technical analysis dun sa efficient markets because yung mga technical analysts, they believe that new information is not immediately available to everyone, but disseminated from the informed professional first to the aggressive investing public and then to the masses. So yung mga technical analysts, hindi naniniwala na sinabi natin kanina sa efficient capital market. Gulo na, no? So yung mga technical analysts, hindi sila naniniwala dun sa efficient capital market because to them, yung information na yan, although may impact dun sa price, hindi siya agad available sa lahat. Available muna siya dun sa mga professional, tapos ibababa dun sa mga aggressive na investors bago pa dumating sa mga kagaya natin. So yun yung sinasabi niya na yes, possible merong impact yung information dun sa price ng stock. Pero yung information na yan, hindi siya agad bumababa. And by the time na bumaba na siya sa mga masa, kagaya natin, ang dami nang nangyari. So hindi na tayo nakakasabay. Yun yung sinasabi ng mga technical analysis. They also believe that the investors do not analyze information and act immediately. So kumbaga, yun na nga, may nangyari na dun sa information na hawak nila bago pa makababa sa mga masses. Therefore, according to technical analysts, the stock prices move to a new equilibrium after the release of new information in a gradual manner, causing trends in stock price movements that persist for periods. So kumbaga, ang sinasabi kasi ng efficient capital market, basta mayroong bagong information, may impact sa stock price. Ang sinasabi ng mga technical analyst, may impact siya sa stock price. Pero, ang nakakaalam lang ng information, yung mga security analyst muna, tapos yung mga aggressive na investor, bago pa yung masa. So, yung impact niya dun sa price, hindi ganun kabilis and matagal. Yes, tataas or bababa yung stock price, pero hindi kagaya ng sinasabi ng efficient capital market na right away meron siyang impact. Therefore, technical analysts develop systems to detect movement to a new equilibrium and trade based on that. So it contradicts the rapid price adjustments indicated by the EMH. Sabi kasi ni EMH, pag may bagong information, adjust agad yung price. Hindi daw ganun yun, sabi ng technical analyst. Lumilipat yung price, pero hindi ganun kabilis. So if the capital market is weak form efficient, a trading system that depends on past trading data can have no value. So sabi ng mga technical analysis, walang impact kung i-analyze mo yung historical performance ng stocks. So yun yung mga technical analysts. Ngayon pag-usapan naman natin yung mga fundamental analysts. Fundamental analysts believe that there is a basic intrinsic value for the aggregate stock market, various industries or individual securities, and these values depend on underlying economic factors. Investors should determine the intrinsic value of an investment at a point in time and compare it to the market price. Ako, more on fundamental analyst ang sinusunod ko sa mga sa mga stocks na binibili ko. Hindi ganun kadami yung stocks ko, konti lang baka sabihin niyo sobrang dami. Gusto ko lang siya i-try. So kapag nag-decide ako kung anong stocks yung bibilin ko, ang ginagawa ko, tinitingnan ko yung mga analysis ng mga fundamentalist. Kasi ang pinapakita nila doon, magkano ba talaga yung value ng stocks. Tapos ikukumpara mo yun doon sa kung magkano yung presyo niya sa stock market. Kapag magkalayo, meaning mas mataas yung value ng intrinsic value ng stocks versus the market value, binibili ko yung stock na yon. Kasi feeling ng mga fundamental analyst, tataas yung stock market and magmamatch dun sa intrinsic value. So ganun yung analysis ng mga fundamentalist. Nagko-compute sila ng intrinsic value ng stocks, tapos ibabangga mo yun dun sa kung magkano ba ang presyo ng stock sa market. And then kapag malayo yung gap, ibig sabihin may growth na inaasahan doon sa stock na yon. So ako, yun yung pinipili ko. May mga iba't iba kasing strategy talaga eh. Pero walang isang best strategy. Swertehan, and yun nga, swertehan and kung meron kang information na alam na hindi alam ng mga public. But sabi nga natin, sabi ng mga technical analyst, bago mo malaman yan, may mga movement na nangyari. Kagaya halimbawa nung meron kasi akong stocks ng anong tawag dito, Aboitiz Power Corporation. So for the longest time, laglag yung stock price ng Aboitiz Power. Tapos ngayon, bigla na siyang tumataas. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. So, teka lang. Bigla nang tumataas yung stock ng Aboitiz Power. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Pero nakita ko, may mga bagong foreign investors na pumapasok pala sa Philippines. Kaya tumataas yung presyo ng Aboitiz Power na stock. So, tama yung sinabi ng mga technical analyst. Kasi, kung alam ko na sana yung information na yon, bumili na ako dati pa ng mas madaming Aboitiz Power na stock. Pero dahil hindi ko alam, nakapasok na sila, tumaas na yung price, hindi na ako nakabili ng mas mababa. Kasi tumataas na siya. Pwede pa akong bumili, of course, pero tumaas na siya. So, hindi ko naman alam kung hanggang saan siya tataas. So, tsaka wala na rin akong pambili. Hindi na ako bumili ng stocks nila. So, yun lang yung sinasabi natin dun sa efficient market hypothesis, technical analysis, and then fundamental analysis. So ituloy lang natin yung fundamental analysis. If sabi dito, if you can do a superior job of estimating intrinsic value, you can make superior market timing decisions and generate above average returns. So kasama of course sa mga intrinsic value yung aggregate market analysis, industry analysis, company analysis, portfolio management. Okay. So now let's talk about aggregate market analysis with efficient capital markets. EMH implies that examining only past economic events is not likely to lead to outperforming a buy and hold policies because the market adjusts rapidly to known economic events. So sabi ng EMH, kung ang pag-aaralan mo lang daw ay yung historical economic events, hindi siya makakatulong sa'yo para mag-perform ng mas maganda because may mga economic events na nagkakaroon ng impact doon sa stock prices sa prices ng mga stocks. So kung ang gagamitin mo lang ay historical data para i-estimate yung future value, hindi siya sufficient. So in short, yung analysis daw, nasasabihin mo na, last year maganda yung performance ni Jollibee. So bibili ako ng Jollibee stock kasi magiging maganda yung performance niya next year. Hindi daw enough yon yung ganong klaseng analysis because you must estimate other relevant variables that can cause long-run movements. So speaking of Jollibee, so hindi enough na ang pag-aaralan mo lang talaga is yung past performance niya. Titingnan mo rin kung ano ba yung growth prospect niya. So bumili siya nag-enter ang Jollibee sa Spain, so that could be a potential positive prospect for the company. So, yun, in that case, pwede mong sabihin na, okay, tataas siguro yung Jollibee kasi may mga investments ba siya, hindi lang sa Philippines but abroad as well. Now, industry and company analysis with efficient capital markets. There's a wide distribution of returns from different industries and companies justifies industry and company analysis. You must understand, of course, the variables that affect rates of return and do a superior job of estimating future values of these relevant valuation variables. So generally, ang sinasabi lang dito, dapat hindi enough na ang titinan mo lang is yung past performance. Tingnan mo din kung ano magiging impact ng mga relevant information about the company dun sa current price ng isang stocks. Okay. So, ayan. So actually, paulit-ulit lang yung sinasabi ko dito na about efficient market hypothesis and efficient capital markets. Basta ang sinasabi lang dito, may iba't ibang beliefs ang iba't ibang investors. Pero ang sinasabi dito is, kung isang individual investor ka lang, you cannot really predict with 100% guarantee yung magiging price ng isang stocks. Kasi yung information na meron ka is very limited at yung mga fund managers and security analysts, mas madami silang information na hawak compared to you. So it's up to you to decide as an individual investor kung ano bang strategy yung gagawin mo. Magiging fundamentalist ka ba or magiging technical analyst ka ba or bibili ka lang ng stocks tapos iiwanan mo siya doon. Sa mga previous classes na tinuruan ko, sinabi ko sa kanila na yung return sa stocks in the long run ay mas mataas palagi sa return sa mga bonds at saka sa mga time deposits kasi mas mababa yung risk ng mga to. Mas mataas palagi ang return sa mga stocks because mas mataas yung risk. But kung gusto mong kumita agad-agad, I would not recommend stocks kasi hindi ko alam kung paano kakakita agad-agad sa stocks. Kasi ako never ko pa siya na-experience. So, pwede gawin, bibili ka ng stocks, i-hold mo siya doon. Tapos, mag-aabang ka ng mga bagong information and interpret kung how this information can impact yung price ng stocks na meron ka ngayon. Now, on to the last few slides, how to evaluate analysts or investors. Kung pipili ka ng mga analysts na kokopyahin mo yung performance, sabi nila, you examine the performance of the numerous securities that they are recommending over time. So para malaman mo kung talaga bang dapat mo siyang sundin sa mga suggestion niya, tingnan mo kung ano ba yung mga stocks na nirecommend niya before. Ito bang mga nirecommend niyang stocks ay tumaas ba talaga? O tsamba lang? Or hindi talaga tumaas yung stocks? Tapos sabi nila, yung portfolio managers with superior analysts, they concentrate their efforts in mid-cap stocks that do not receive the attention given by institutional portfolio managers. The market for these neglected stocks may be less efficient than the market for large, well-known stocks. So may mga stocks kasi na hindi masyado napapansin. Some portfolio managers na merong mga magagaling na analyst, yun yung pinupuntahan nila and tinitingnan nila kung pwedeng doon tayo kumita sa ating investments. Pero kung may mga portfolio managers na walang mga masyadong superior na analyst, tingnan mo na lang kung ano ba yung preferences ng clients mo. Kung risky yung client mo, di pumunta ka sa mga stocks na mataas yung risk. Pero kung hindi masyadong risky, bababaan mo lang yung risk. Tingnan mo yung risk appetite ng mga investors. Okay. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na index funds. Sabi ko kanina, di ba yung mga index funds, ito yung pool of different stocks from different industries. Pinagsasama-sama yan. Tapos kung ano yung performance ng index funds, sabi nila, it reflects the performance daw of the entire stock market. So kung kagaya natin na walang masyadong information about the stocks, we can opt to invest in index funds. Kasi kapag tumaas ang market, di ba pag naririnig niyo sa balita, tumaas ang market, ang tinitingnan nila dito is yung mga index funds. Kasi ibig sabihin, tumaas yung presyo ng index funds. Kung ayaw mo na bumibili ng iba't ibang stocks, pwede kang bumili ng index funds. Kasi bumili ka lang ng isang index, madaming companies na yung nasa loob niyan. Normally, nasa 30 stocks of different companies. Kesa bumili ka ng Jollibee lang, kesa bumili ka ng Aboitiz lang, pwede kang bumili ng index funds kasi madaming companies yun. Ang pangit nga lang sa index funds, of course, since 30 companies yun nandyan, kung yung ibang company tumataas yung presyo, yung ibang company bumababa. So nag-average out siya. So yung income mo for that index fund, hindi ganun kalaki kung nag-average out. Compared kung Jollibee lang yung binili mo, tapos tamaas yung Jollibee, kikita ka na agad. Okay. This is the last slide. Insights from behavioral finance. Growth companies will usually not be growth stocks due to the overconfidence of analysts regarding future growth rates and valuations. So kumbaga parang yung mga companies na tumataas, yung growth, hindi normally tumataas din yung stocks nila kasi masyado daw confident yung mga analysts tungkol dun sa future growth rates. So hindi mo basta mapapaniwala yung mga investors about that. Meron tayong tinatawag na herd mentality. Ibig sabihin, yung mga analysts na to, there's a notion of herd mentality of analysts in stock recommendations or quarterly earnings estimates is confirmed. So kumbaga parang nagkokopyahan, parang kayo, nagkokopyahan. So kung ano yung movement na gagawin ng ibang stock analyst, mas nangyayari pa yon compared doon sa mga overconfidence ng mga investors. Pag ang pinag-uusapan natin is behavioral finance. Kasi syempre, kumbaga, kung hindi mo naman alam kung saan ka pupunta na stocks, titingnan mo kung saan nagpupuntahan yung mga investors. So kapag lahat sila pumupunta din sa ganong stocks, mapapaisip ka, kopyahin ko na lang kaya sila. Kasi baka tama yung ginagawa nila. So because of that, nagkokopyahan yung mga stock investors, pumupunta sila sa isang stocks, tumataas tuloy yung demand for that stock and therefore tumataas yung price for that stock. So may impact din yung behavioral finance. We will talk about this in detail, I think, in one of the modules during the semester. Okay, so that ends our module. Hindi na ako nakapagtanong masyado sa inyo dahil baka hindi nyo rin naman ako sagutin. So, any questions so far? May naintindihan kayo sa topic natin this morning?
Opo, sir.
Meron naman. Medyo medyo bago sa pandinig. Pero hindi siya ganun kahirap kung babasahin mo siya ulit. It's more on parang teaching us kung saan ka ba talaga bibili, kung anong stocks yung bibilhin mo, and mayroon bang totoo ba yung mga sinasabi ng ibang mga stock investors na dapat dito ka mag-invest.